Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Jacks, the Liberal government projects a decline in deficit to GDP ratio over the next 5 years as a fiscal anchor. In your report, you estimate that there's only a 7.5% chance that the government can actually do that. And I find 7.5% chance is extremely low. Can you explain why there's only a 7.5% chance that this government respects this fiscal anchor that they have set?
So we've used the same kind of methodology that the IMF has used in terms of stress testing this fiscal anchor specifically. And in that, we took into account, as Mr. Jake said before, the economic shocks that have happened in the past, over the past 30 years. Using those shocks and kind of their impacts on fiscal policy as a result, we determined that there is a 7.5% chance of the deficit to GDP declining every single year over that projection horizon. So we're using a similar methodology that the IMF has used in the past to come up with this conclusion.
So there is a 7.5% chance that the government respects their anchors. That in turn means that there's a 92.5% chance that it does not respect the fiscal anchor. Can you comment on that?
Using the stress testing that we've done, you would arrive at that conclusion, but it is a stress test of that fiscal anchor.
Thank you. So Fitch Credit Rating has already warned, of course, that there is pressure on Canada's credit rating because of the close to $80 billion deficit that was presented in the budget, the persistent fiscal expansion, and rising burden of debt. They go on to write that this may be exacerbated by persistent economic underperformance caused by tariff risks and structural changes, including low productivity. Given the challenges related to our fiscal outlook, is this a good time to be introducing more uncertainty and distrust with the vague capital investment definition?
I would say, going back to comments that we offered earlier, more transparency is better than less. It is a significant change in the definition of fiscal anchors that the government wants to use, and having more parliamentary debate and more understanding around what that change means, I think it's beneficial to everyone.
Mr. Jacks, in a recent interview, you actually commented on that, and that the Liberal government ran on the federal debt to GDP ratio as a fiscal anchor, and there was no debate in Parliament over changing it. Is this right? Like, what are your thoughts on this? How does a country just change its fiscal anchor, it's a big deal for Canada. That's how we guide ourselves and make decisions. And how does this Liberal government change it without proper debate or discussion in Parliament? Could you comment on that?
Sure. The short answer is the government has full discretion to identify which fiscal anchors it wants to use as part of its management of the economy and the government's finances. A recommendation that we've made is that there should be heightened transparency around that, especially in situations where you have a long-standing and widely respected fiscal anchor, like the declining debt to GDP ratio, used long-standing in Canada, widely used across other jurisdictions, and it's no longer being used as a fiscal anchor by the government. There ends up being risk of potential politicization around the numbers, where there end up being material changes to the fiscal anchors or any other aspects of the fiscal framework without policy discussion around that.
Thank you. The September 2025 fiscal outlook summary warns that the debt servicing ratio continues to rise over the medium term. At what point would credit rating concerns start pushing Canada's borrowing rates higher in a meaningful way?
That's a question that's better put to a credit rating agency. I'm sure
Thank you, Ms. Kobina. We're going to have to conclude that round.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. For all those viewers listening to us, I would just like to recall that the role of the PBO is to conduct a neutral, nonpartisan analysis. Mr. Jacques, you're the interim parliamentary budget officer. So I would like to take a few moments today to thank you. Thank you for being excellent, doing excellent outreach. Thank you for your competence. You're perfectly bilingual in English and in French. You're extremely credible. You always make yourself available. We've had several meetings with you. And I would say that you're also just a very good person, a nice person. You tick off all the boxes as someone who should fulfill that position. You also have considerable experience. And if ever you decide to put forward your candidacy for the position of PBO, I assure you that I will be supporting your candidacy, and I hope and am persuaded that the colleagues around this table will support your candidacy. So thank you for all the good work that you do. Now, today the Liberals spoke about the potential consequences of American tariffs. Prime Minister Carney yesterday said, who is interested in this? I would like to know if you are interested in this and its impact on the budget. I think that there are very, very important issues that affect the budget. And to hear the Prime Minister of Canada's wonder who is interested in it, I'm concerned. How do you see a comment like that? Well, tariffs are a very important factor when it comes to our outlook. Yes, but to hear what the Prime Minister said in terms of interest in this, do you not think, are you not concerned to hear him say, well, he's not particularly interested in this? Well, I didn't hear the comments of the Prime Minister. Well, go and take a look on social media, because it's going around. Now, you said you've had trouble in getting information from some departments, that you managed to get it from the Department of Finance, but what departments have you been having more trouble with? Specifically, with respect to our request for information, and the budget and budget 2025, there's been a problem with obtaining information on the cuts that will take place and the 15% reduction in certain departmental budgets, for example, the cutting of positions. We don't have, and we have not received details, and that's why we decided to discuss this and to communicate this to the Speaker of the House, for example, so that we could get help in rectifying this. And were you told when you could get the information that you requested? Any time frame? We are awaiting a ruling from the Speaker of the House of Commons. The Liberal government said that it will balance its operating budget within 3 years. Do you think that's possible? Yes, it's possible, because the Government of Canada has the power to implement some policy changes and to change, for example, make changes to its spending, to its expenditures. So it does have a certain amount of control in order to achieve that operating balance. So you're saying that actually it has to sort of maneuver somewhat, play around with the various budget columns? Well, we sort of did an estimate for the Government of Canada, an estimate of how likely it was to be able to reduce the deficit to GDP ratio, but we did not do the same assessment with the operating balance, because we didn't have enough data to do that. Would you agree that there's sort of been some accounting maneuver, sort of creative accounting, basically, to be able to improve the financial prospects of the country? In terms of the operational balance, there is a mathematical link to the budgeting framework, and I think that the probability. That concludes your time.